Well, Sony made an interesting announcement today. They're going to be doing their own presentation, it seems, similar to, I would assume, a Nintendo Direct style presentation. It's going to be a live broadcast March 25th, 2019. So that's Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, called State of Play. Now, on the other side, Microsoft actually announced something as well for more of an indie presentation for like indies with their ID at Xbox, kind of like the Nindies, which I think is the day after. So I'll look into maybe doing a live stream for that, but I am going to do one for State of Play because there are some interesting games that I'll be looking to see if we get release dates for. And they even say tune in to the very first episode of State of Play, where we'll share new updates and announcements for PS4 and PlayStation VR software. So fortunately, I'm glad they did this, by the way. They said software because I'll tell you now, most people were probably, well, they first saw this and they're probably running wild with PlayStation 5 speculation. I'm going to tell you now, there probably won't be anything about hardware. The most you'll see about hardware might, and I mean this even might be slim, is like a limited edition bundle for something like a Death Stranding or a Ghost of Tsushima or Last of Us 2, right? Depending if any of those are coming out soonish. And by soonish, I mean like, maybe the fall or something. That's the most you'll probably see for hardware is like a special edition bundle. If you're thinking PS5, the soonest I can see them even talk about it, because they're skipping E3, is PlayStation Experience towards the end of this year, or maybe Tokyo Game Show, although I think they would just want to do everything on their own stage. PlayStation Experience, boom. So look to this for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation VR software, and trust me, there's a lot of stuff that we need to know about that might not be able to fill out an hour to 2 hour presentation at E3. Doing something like this makes more sense, and yeah, as a lot of people pointed out, is technically them, and I guess Microsoft as well now, copying Nintendo's Nintendo Direct that they have been doing for a while now, and yeah, it works. That's what you do. If something works, you copy it. That's why Nintendo charges for online, because it works for the other two. So why not? That's why, dual analog sticks became popular after Sony did the DualShock, because it worked. These companies copy off of each other. It's the way it is. So yeah, I actually like the idea of Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo doing their own, pre-recorded presentation that cuts out all the fat and the boring stuff. Like what we saw Sony's E3, where they made people go between like buildings and they had people playing music and all this stuff, and it was just like, why? Why is this happening? What is all of this? In fact, their pre-show had, I think, more information packed into it than their actual show, and that was a much more like a straightforward Nintendo Direct style thing, but it was still live. Like they had people technically at like a booth and everything talking. I'm thinking this is going to be more along the lines of Nintendo Direct, where it is all pre-recorded. It goes through some trailers, and well, that's it. So what could we see here? Well, there's a few things. I think we need release dates for 2 out of their 3 titles. So I don't know if all 3 are going to be coming out this year. I assume 1 or 2 of them are still slated for 2020. And the big ones obviously are like Ghost of Tsushima. We already know about Days Gone, so you can move that out of the way. But Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us 2, and Death Stranding. I'm starting to think that Last of Us 2 might actually be a holiday title for 2019. Originally, I thought it was going to be either Ghost of Tsushima or something like Death Stranding, but it sounds more and more like Death Stranding is it's struggling more than I thought it would. It sounds like they've fallen behind a bit with some of their development and their deadlines and everything. So I don't know. And Kojima, of course, is known to, he's known to wait and continue working. And when the finished product shows up, we'll check it out, we'll scrutinize it, and we'll see if it was worth the wait. But I think at this point, The Last of Us 2 makes more sense to get out sooner than later, because of course it will probably find its way to the PlayStation 5 via a patch, because the PS5 could be backwards compatible and they'll just keep selling the PS4 version, or they'll take the PS4 version and put it into a PlayStation 5 case, similar to what Microsoft's done with their 360 games, like Skate 3, for example. I remember I bought it like 2 Black Fridays ago, and it's actually in an Xbox One case, but it's a 360 disc, so that's kind of a strategy there they could do. But I think the sooner the better, because then they can work on that patch and you know, get it out in a holiday before we're rolling into a holiday with new systems. I don't think we want Last of Us 2 launching at around the same time that the PS5 comes out and the Xbox Scarlet comes out, and Last of Us 2 is for like an older, you know, PS4 system. Get it out so it has all the shine. Something like Death Stranding could launch, you know, midway through 2020. Summer, you could see Ghost of Tsushima show up in like the April time slot that something like it's coming out soon. So I don't think you need those two out. I think you need Last of Us 2 out badly. I think that's the one you really need to come out. So I would expect those. Medieval needs some sort of something release date, something that kind of was talked about at that PlayStation Experience briefly. Then they showed gameplay in a trailer, and now we're waiting to hear a bit more about its release date and others. So that's one I think will be shown. And then the other question is, what new PlayStation VR software will they show? Well, honestly, it could be anything, because a lot of times I kind of line up the VR software with like indie software, because it's still very experimental and they'll do all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, who would have seen something like Astrobot coming? No one. Even like the Tetris Effect, same deal. So it could be anything for PlayStation VR software. I don't think we'll see. Some people are also talking about a PlayStation VR revision of some kind. Again, I don't think any hardware is going to be here. With the most you'd see in hardware is when they actually bundle software with it. I wouldn't expect any type of hardware here. I think the next PlayStation VR is going to be with the PS5, you know, the VR2 or whatever. So don't even think too much on that. But games, well, it could be anything there. So it's exciting to see this. My other thought is, will there be any third-party representation here? And yeah, there could be. My initial thought, of course, like everybody else, now that Kingdom Hearts 3 is out, is Final Fantasy VII Remake, a game that's supposed to be first on PlayStation. And would they show it here? I almost feel like they won't, because Square might want to save that for their own E3 presentation that I think needs an anchor. Like, it needs a big game. That is the big game. So I don't think that would be shown here. I think it'll mostly be first-party stuff, mostly release dates, maybe sprinkle in a few cool little announcements. But keep in mind, all of their first-party studios are pretty much working on PS5 stuff at this point, right? Like Guerrilla Games, they're working on most likely Horizon Zero Dawn 2, for example. You know, Santa Monica is probably working on the next God of War at this point to follow up the one we just had for the PlayStation 5. So they're all pretty much working on newer stuff. And then things like, obviously, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us 2. Well, depending on how Ghost of Tsushima sells, maybe Death Stranding will probably either get patches or even full-on PS5 releases like we've seen with The Last of Us Remastered, as an example. So that's kind of what I would look to. They didn't even say how long it's going to be, right? It's going to be streamed everywhere. Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, apparently. That's cool. So we will, I'll be streaming it here, and we'll check it out and see what we get. But it's their first showcase of hopefully many, because I much more prefer this style rather than what we see with E3 and live shows. Now, listen, I don't think live stuff will go away completely from E3, because I'm still looking forward to Microsoft's, their whole live show on stage and everything, and that'll be interesting at E3. But I do like the idea of a very quick, very straight to the point, you know, pre-recorded, put together, edited piece of, well, I guess updates and everything, but just a full announcement that way, rather than have to sit through all of the weird stuff like music, performances, and everything. So that's kind of the way I would go. Just one piece of content that's there, you view it, you're like, that was cool, you know, press releases drop throughout, and then we move on. It's basically like, you know, Inside Xbox is like 2 hours, and we're like, they could have done that in 20 minutes with the actual game announcements, and then they do things like a State of Decay, you know, escape room or something crazy. Yeah, I prefer this much more. So yes, if a company's doing something right, all the other companies should copy it and do the same thing, and that's what we're kind of seeing here with the Nintendo Direct being fairly successful. And honestly, it probably saves them a lot of money compared to going to E3, when you could just do this for yourself, right? With the power of the internet and social media, this will probably be more effective anyway. So exciting stuff. But let me know what you guys think about this down below. The State of Play first episode, Monday. I'll be streaming it. It should be fun. But I need to know what games you guys want to see here with the different, I guess, unreleased games, or even some new things. Interesting stuff. Thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure you like the video if you liked it, dislike if not, and I'll see you in the next video.